Okay, thank you, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started. So I'm going to call to order our meeting. Today is a regular meeting of Hollister City Council, February 17th, 2026. Meeting is now called to order. It's 6:30 p.m. Can we do roll call, please?
Councilmember Pache.
Present.
Councilmember Resendez.
We can't hear you, Roland. Let's see.
You're muted.
Oh, try it again.
Is the speaker correct? Okay. Councilmember says we see you, but we can't hear you, so we'll work on that on our end. Councilmember
Okay.
Morales. Here. Vice Mayor DeAnda. Okay. I
Okay.
can't hear you, but
Okay,
you are present. And Mayor Stevens.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, so Councilmember Pache, can you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Of course.
Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. Get my stuff together here. Okay, so we're going to move into public input. So this is the time for anyone in the audience, virtual or in person, to speak on any item that is not on the agenda and within the subject matter jurisdiction of the council. Speaker cards are available in the lobby and should be completed and given to the city clerk before speaking. When the city clerk calls your name, please come to the podium, state your name and city for our records, speak to the council. And if you're joining us via Zoom, please click at the bottom of your screen to raise your hand. If you're on your cell phone and on Zoom, then press *9. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes with a maximum of 30 minutes per subject. Please note that state law prohibits the city council from discussing or taking any action on any item not on the agenda. City Clerk, do we have any comments for this section?
Yes, we do. Our first speaker is Mia Casey, to be followed by Neil.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I am not a scapegoat to be used by this council, and frankly, I was disgusted first with a poorly edited video spread all over social media by Mr. Resendez, and then false statements on TV news claiming that the previous council did nothing about sewer concerns. So I want to correct a few things for you and give you some history. The claim that taxes were wasted on the sewer, no taxpayer dollars are used on sewer upgrades. Money comes from sewer enterprise funds, which are funded by developer fees, not taxes. Also, this continued false narrative regarding a sewer plant being doubled in size to build more housing is absolutely untrue. The sewer plant opened in 2008. It was designed to process up to 8 million gallons per day. It has 4 bioreactors. Each one can do 1 million gallons a day. In 2008, the state certified the plant to operate with a capacity limit of 4 million gallons per day. And guess what? That limit is still in place. In 2016, 2 of those bioreactors were replaced. They have a lifespan of 8 to 15 years. The last 2 were supposed to be done in 2020, but then the pandemic happened. By 2023, those last 2 units were beyond their lifespan, and replacing them was crucial. And while new bioreactors may be more efficient and can process more waste, that's not why the old ones were replaced. If your tires are worn out, you don't wait for a blowout. You replace them. No one wanted to see a bioreactor fail and cause a sewage spill, except perhaps Mr. Resendez, who voted against taking care of our sewer equipment. Now, this claim about previous council doing nothing, the exact opposite is true. In 2023, after residents voiced concerns, Councilmember Burns urged council for an investigation. The council hired a consultant, and from that review, we authorized a number of improvements. There were flapper valves to be installed to protect odors from getting into people's homes, treatment with bioxide to reduce odor, a $100,000 vault redesign to prevent pooling sewage, and a purchase of a $400,000 sewer camera van for proactive monitoring. In 2024, we took legal action against the cannery over sludge odors. This is all documented in the public record. The current sewer issue is about lack of maintenance and equipment failure, not housing, not increased sewage flow, and it happened under this council's watch. So just own it and deal with it. The continuous blaming of previous council must stop. The lies about sewer expansion must stop, and the politicizing and lying on the dais, that needs to stop too. That kind of unprofessional behavior undermines public trust. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Casey. Do we have another speaker on this
Yes,
item?
our next
Okay.
speaker is Neil, to be followed by Chris Pito.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, I lost my notes, but I can sort of do it from memory, although the exact terminology won't be correct. My comments are from the builders or people who need permits that was at a meeting a couple times ago. I'd like to see if there was, I'd like to know, obviously not right now, but I'd like to know if there was ever a study on that one person who was asking for a permit for the lighting requirements that she was asked to make for the school, and if that's ever been required of any other person who's applied for a permit. And I've dealt with the permitting department before. I had a leach line on a large piece of property installed, and whoever installed it installed the leach line uphill. And the permit people came out and passed it, approved it. And so I went out and, before they covered it up, and I saw if the water would flow, and it didn't. It flowed back towards the septic tank. And so I asked the permitters to come back out and please relook at the situation. They're like, oh, yeah, we made a mistake. And I go, well, the mistake you made was you didn't do a flow test. And if you want to have sewer leach line work, water needs to flow downhill. It can't just fill up a leach line and have it backing into your septic tank. I'd like to see Four Leaf receive a massive review by the new city manager or whatever. In my view, they should be on probation, if not fired immediately. They've been a thorn in everybody's side for at least the entire time that they've been here. So obviously I know that's not going to happen, but I would like to see a serious review, especially with the new manager in town. We'll have a fresh face. Have at it. Thanks.
Thank you, Neil. Next, do you have another? Okay.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Chris Pito. And Mr. Pito, we are having some trouble with the camera for the timer, but we'll keep an eye on the time for you. Okay, you can go ahead.
Okay. I'd like to thank the mayor, members of the council, and staff for giving me the opportunity to speak tonight regarding the southwest corner of Reykjavik and 4th. On February 13, 2026, my team submitted a mixed-use site and architectural review development application, CUP vesting tentative map minor subdivision, along with payments in the amount of $34,749 to the city of Hollister. I believe the city may delay taking the above mentioned application to hearing until the housing element general plan are adopted by the city. If that happens, we would then be required to go through a rezone and general plan update, and the city does not have the mechanism to do this. The application submitted meet current zoning and should be considered categorically exempt from SEQA. I believe HCD has approved the housing element in concept, and I believe this is in line with the city's goal to adopt the housing element to avoid a stipulated judgment. And I want to go on record that by reviewing and potentially approving the project under the current zoning, even before the housing element and GP are adopted by the city, the approval will not delay nor risk what is in process and or approved by HCD. But waiting on approving the project will likely kill the development. No net loss government code section 65863 allows the city to review and approve the project so long as the remaining sites have sufficient capacity to accommodate the remaining unmet RENA. The buffer is in place to allow cities to the opportunity to approve projects and keep the wheels of commerce moving forward. I'm here tonight to request the city review the application as categorically exempt with an expedited review of the discretionary application. I'm asking this be done so the project will be reviewed prior to adoption of the GPN housing element and will not require a rezone and general plan update. Staff will need the council to confirm they are okay processing and using the housing buffer to satisfy no net loss government code section 65863. And earlier today, I reached out to the city regarding meeting to discuss the above. It's my hope that we can have a meeting later this week to discuss, so long as the council can provide some direction. However, if it is the will of the council that this project and these developments be residential in nature, then I need confirmation as such. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pito. Other speakers?
Those are all the speakers for this item.
Okay. Thank you to all the speakers on that item. We're going to move on to the consent agenda. Do any members of the council have any brief questions or comments about anything on the consent agenda? Let me see. Okay, I'm not seeing any, so I'm going to move to public comment. Do we have any public speakers on the consent agenda?
There are no public comments for the consent agenda. I will make note really quick in case we forgot it on your script that we will need to do all votes by roll call tonight since we're hybrid.
Oh,
with our
right.
council
Okay,
members.
great. Thanks for that reminder. Appreciate it. Did you say there's no speakers on the?
speakers.
Okay, no speakers on the consent. So I'm going to bring it back to the council. Any members of the council have any last questions or comments, or would they like any of the items pulled? Okay, not seeing any. So can I get a motion on the consent?
Motion to approve the consent calendar?
Can I get a second?
A second.
Thank you. Can we do roll call vote, please?
Yes, Councilmember Pache,
Agreed.
Councilmember Resendez,
Aye.
Councilmember Morales, Vice Mayor Deanda,
Yes.
and Mayor Stevens.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So we're going to move on to item number 6.1, water rate study, public hearing and adjustments to water rates. Can we have a staff report, please?
Thank you so much, Madam Mayor, members of the council, members of the public. We wanted to revisit the discussion about the water rate increases. In your meeting in January, you had given direction that we bring this item back to you today, and so we are. We will be asking specific next steps from you. We'll give the presentation, then we will ask for which rate, if any, you wish to pursue. We can also you can open up a public hearing today to be consistent with Proposition 218. And at the end, adopt a resolution approving whichever rate adjustment you wish to approve. So as far as discussion, as indicated in the report, we simply wanted to connect the dots. We wanted to refresh everybody's memory about how we have executed all the steps necessary under Proposition 218. We also wanted to make sure that the public is aware of why the increases are necessary and also what exactly is a rate. The previous conversations, I think, focused on a number of issues, but not necessarily clear as to what a rate is supposed to represent. So per the report that is included in your packets and it's available to the public, the water utility, like sewer utility, like any enterprise fund, is supposed to be self-funding. It's supposed to bring enough revenues to cover all the expenditures. That's how enterprise funds work. So $1 that goes into an enterprise fund is supposed to fund $1 worth of expenses. And those expenses have to be in that utility. I cannot, for example, take $1 out of water and put it in the police department. I cannot do that. I cannot take $1 from sewer and put it in the fire department. I cannot do that. There are activities that are general fund funded, and there are activities that are enterprise funds, in this case, water. So what goes into the rate? We're supposed to make sure that we cover all the different individuals that have direct responsibility for water. Personnel, which means salary and benefits, including retirement and also retirement liabilities. We also need to cover operations and maintenance. That includes, for example, the invoices that we receive from San Benito County Water District and also from Sunny Slope Water District. Why? Because the county sells water to us and Sunny Slope treats the water. So we receive an invoice from those two services. That's part of operations and maintenance. Part of operations and maintenance are also our mains when we replace them, the chemicals that we use, and so on. Capital investments include major capital investments that we have to make in order to make sure that the water is safe and that we're able to convey that water to the homes that have accounts with us. Administrative costs, those are mostly in the areas of human resources, finance, city manager's office. We spend time on the utility, and therefore we have an allocation schedule that reflects what legally we're supposed to recover through the utility. And last but not least, we also cover reserves, because our own fiscal policy that we have adopted here in the city says that we're supposed to have a reserve. So in an ideal situation, all of those elements would be covered by our rates. That is not the case. So the last conversation that you had on this topic, the consultant gave you two options, alternative 1, alternative 2. Alternative 2 was selected. And so that would be an 83% increase on the base rate. So now let me focus on why so high? Why do we have to increase rates? And I have listed, let me start from the beginning, personnel. We have MOUs with our unions that have salary increases. And those salary increases are supposed to come from the rates. We also have liabilities through CalPERS, our retirement partner, that are also supposed to come from that utility for those individuals that work in the utility. So let me be very specific. It's not for everybody. It's for the individuals that work in the utility, both salary and also CalPERS liabilities. As far as operations, we have not adjusted our rates according to inflation. That is just a standard practice that in the future I hope we can have as a part of our book of fees, where rates and fines and fees increase according to our consumer price index, i.e. inflation. We also have the cost of water. So San Benito County Water District has given us invoices that reflect increases in water. Why? Water is gold in California. Water is expensive. Also Sunny Slope. Why? Because they process our water. The same way that we experience increases in salaries and obligations and chemicals, they too experience that. We also have capital infrastructure needs. As indicated in the report, we have 60,000 linear feet of small diameter cast iron water mains. Those break. We need to do something about it. We have low pressure systems in part of our city. We have excessive water velocities in other parts of our city. And the list goes on all the different deficiencies that we have. This is due to deferred maintenance. And deferred maintenance comes from, yes, a lack of a plan that we have followed, but also the lack of resources. Then we get into administrative costs. The city provides support to all the utilities, in this case, water. This is reflected by our human resources department, by our financial and accounting staff, governance and strategic management, i.e. the council. So many cities, the council costs are also allocated to the utilities. I don't know if that's something that we do or we do not, but we should. And so we also have, as I mentioned before, a policy that 20% of the operating cost is supposed to be in reserves. We don't have reserves for water. Never mind the 20%. We just don't have reserves. So with that, I also want to acknowledge the council's concern about the impact that an 83% increase would have on low-income families. To that, I think that we can expand our current senior assistance program to be available to any low-income families that are part of the CARES program by PG&E. Why? Because PG&E has the resources to evaluate applicants, and once they determine that the family or the individual meets all the criteria, then we can take that same information to then provide a discount. What we are promoting is a 25% discount, which is what we currently have for our seniors. So we're talking about an expansion of that program to any family or individual that is part of the care program, PG&E's care program. So as we move forward, we would like to do further analysis of our rates. We appreciate the work that our consultant has done for us. It's a lot of heavy lifting that there's no way we could have done ourselves, but there are certain types of analysis that we must do ourselves. So we would like to, for example, look on how we can actually implement an equitable industrial, commercial, residential, low-income water rate structure. So the city has a commercial program, but not really. So what I found is that the council did approve it some years ago, but we didn't quite implement it. We sort of did. I actually have two bills that began to give you a sense. So one is residential, one is commercial, and I'll pass it in a second. We also need to have better tracking mechanisms. So for example, the current rates do not include costs associated with engineering, but we know that engineers do spend time on this utility. And so what do we need to put in place to make sure that we capture those hours? Water prices. So the same way that we want to scrutinize our water rates, we want to do the same for our partners. And they are government entities, so this is something we do in government. We're transparent. We put information out. So we would like to scrutinize the San Benito County Water District and Sunny Slopes Water District rates. We like to understand how they arrive to those rates. And finally, we would like to actually redesign the water bill itself so that we can show the costs that we control and those that we do not. For example, San Benito County Water District, we don't control the rates, and yet nothing in the bills shows that expenditure. So I think that in the spirit of transparency and accountability, it will be important to break out some of these costs so our community understands what costs come from us and our operations versus those of our partners. And because of 218, our partners, just like us, we should be able to explain how we arrive to our rates. So, with that said, let's go into the fiscal impact. The water fund has been running a deficit. In the last fiscal year, it was 1.5. This year, my forecasting of basically looking at trends was about 1.8 deficit. This structural deficit requires careful examination of expenses, which is why we need time to scrutinize our expenses. And alternative 2 increases the rate by 83% over the next 5 years. But again, we need to make sure that we scrutinize our expenses before we move forward. Because we have not done that to this date, and again, I started 3 weeks ago, I'm proposing to you a bridge rate adjustment instead. So that I would like to use inflation, so the consumer price index, as the standard that we want to meet. And I am suggesting that we looked at inflation in 2023, 2024, and 2025. The aggregate is 10.3. Now you could look at 6 years instead, which would put us closer to 30%. But I am not asking for an adjustment in rates due to any specific expense or partnership or MOU. It is strictly based on inflation. Because my request is less than the 83% that we had announced in 218, you are able indeed to make that decision today. Whether it's 5, whether it's 50, whether it's 15, as long as it is not over 83%. So with that, council members, I would like to see what questions you may have.
Okay, thank you for that thorough report, City Manager. I'm going to check in with members of the council if you have any questions or comment.
I have
Councilmember
questions,
Boucher.
but I'll wait for public comment.
Are you okay? Are you sure you don't want to ask questions right now so that the public can hear the answers? Ask the questions now. Maybe make your comments after public comment. I'll get back to you. Let me come back to you. Go ahead, Councilmember Morales.
Anna, thank you so much for that thorough explanation and really reflection on the water rates. And I think it was very helpful to our community to really hear the thought process. My questions are, what are the timelines? So we know that we have repairs. There's a lot of elements that are not incorporated. In terms of timelines for the completion of your analysis, what are we looking, and what are we looking for? I think the concern is we're already several years behind. If we do a 10 or 15 or even a 5%, we're still, that only compounds, right, the difference. So over time, especially when there's going to be needs for reparations. As you can see, we're going to have storms. We know that San Benito County and the city of Hollister, we're going to have some level of flooding and some issues just because of the weather. So I think timelines are going to be important. Another question is, if you get resistance from our partners, because they maybe have not done the analysis, or maybe they're just using a consultant that really didn't underscore the true analysis of what needs to happen, how is that going to be interpreted or accepted or included in your analysis?
So to answer the first question, I'm confident that within 6 months, we can come back to you with solid numbers. So that would put us anywhere between September, October, with a little cushion December, but I think that's pushing, especially because December is a short month. November is a short month too. So we would shoot for September, October, or sooner. I mean, the reality is that if we can allocate the couple people to really do nothing but rates, I would say in a period of 2 to 3 weeks, we could be done. The trick is finding that time. So I'm confident saying in the fall. Now, as far as our partners, I go back, we are all government agencies. We all have to follow 218. The same math we use, they should be using that math. And it is public information. Again, government, we like the sunshine. There are no dark alleys where we conduct business. So it is not a high or controversial request, in my opinion. And if it were to be, then we'll have to cross that bridge when we get there. But all of this information should be public.
Hear you loud and clear. I'm happy to hear that. So I'm going to ask this. I do have confidence in you doing this in 6 months. However, how are we going to balance the competing priorities like our financials, financial audits and budget timelines and staffing?
So, Councilwoman, we are pleased to announce that we have hired a finance director who will be beginning in March. And one of the many reasons why we think that this is a great hire is because of her experience with audits. She used to work for a private firm that would audit government, and she also has a decade of experience working for government agencies. So I expect Ms. O'Connell to really grab the bull by the horns on this one and be the go-to person for everything that is audit related. The other big priority, of course, is the budget. And with the staff that has already been putting a lot of time on the budget, we would be okay from that regard. The real challenge will be finding at least one person in public works and one person in finance that together, so a team of 3, where we can literally set up a war room in that office, in that conference room right there, where we do nothing but crunch numbers for a long period. It's not being distracted by phone, by email. It's just being focused on what we're doing. 3 people, we can do the work. I'm confident. One person would take longer. But if 3 folks are 100% focused on this, we can produce the documentation.
Okay, thank you. Let me check with our two council members participating via Zoom. Councilmember Resendez or Vice Mayor Deonda, any questions?
Yes, Mayor Stevens.
Okay, go ahead, Councilmember.
Thank you, Mayor Stevens. Thank you, City Manager Cortez, for all of your hard work on this item and the very thorough explanation.
Hold on a second, Councilmember. Can we make that louder? Can we get that a little bit louder? It's not very loud on our end. Let me see if we can get a little bit louder. No? Okay. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. We're going to just try to make it work.
I just want to say thank you, City Manager Cortez. Thank you, Mayor Stevens, for your hard work on this item. Thank you for the very thorough explanation. If we were to, let's say, advance the 30% that you had spoke about, how soon can we implement the low-income program that you're also speaking about? I would imagine it wouldn't take very much time, especially since the program of PG&E is already in existence.
Councilman, the reality is that we wouldn't put the rate in place unless we were ready to serve our low-income residents. So as far as a domino effect, we would start with making sure that our program is ready to go before the rates kick in.
Wonderful. And in terms of timeline, let's say if we follow the 218 process and whatnot that obviously we have to do, let's say that the council gives direction for the 30% to cover the inflation tonight. What does that timeline look like as far as rolling out and final adoption for the bridge up until that thorough analysis done in the fall?
Madam Clerk, let me check with you. If the council adopts a rate today, how quickly can it be in effect?
I believe the plan is for it to go into effect on March 16th because that is when the next billing cycle for the utility bills starts. So rather than having a utility billing cycle that covers two different rates, that way it can go into effect when the new one starts in, 29 days-ish?
So council members, sounds like March 16 would be when we could practically move forward. Having said that, I think that there's an educational component. We cannot surprise the community. It would take us, we need to prepare for a communications plan that is bilingual, that is targeted, and to make sure that the community knows that this is happening. We will have surprises. That's just the nature of the beast. But to the degree that we can mitigate it, that would be smart. So even if we had to wait another month, just to make sure that the community is aware.
And as and part of that communication plan, City Manager, I would imagine would be possibly putting some inserts into the water bills to notify the senior citizens and the low-income residents that this is an option for them to get 25% off as long as they can prove that they're part of the CARE program with PG&E.
Yes, sir. That would be low-hanging fruit, quite frankly. And then we need to use social media and other means.
Very well. Those are my questions. Thank you, Mayor
Okay,
Stevens.
thank you. Thank you, Councilmember. Vice Mayor, any questions?
No questions, but I just want to say thank you so much for our new city manager, Ana Cortez, for doing this incredible work and just really, you use the expression, so I'll use it again, you grabbed the bull by the horns and really just made this a priority. So I just really, really appreciate all your hard work. So thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Councilmember Pache, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that it's important that we absolutely do something. We are behind by 8 years in any kind of rate alteration. We're behind on the consumer price index increases. Inflation's gone up by 30%. And as we've just been discussing for the last month, our costs have been going up when it comes to personnel and our aging infrastructure. So doing something now is very important. And communication, I'm really excited to hear, everybody talking about communication because when we initially brought this up,
Mayor Stevens?
Councilmember
Hold on a
Dolores,
second.
can you not hear me?
No, do you have a question? What is your question? Okay, I got this.
I was just making a
Yeah.
comment. Really proud of us bringing this up. My biggest
Okay.
question was like, what percentage should we move it to? And it looks like we're moving to a 30% increase possibly.
Right, so I think we're doing a bridge increase for like, we want to like maybe consider a bridge increase for tonight and then the more broader increase if necessary after the analysis is done, with the report coming through in the early fall, early to mid-fall, hopefully.
And that's of 30%?
Well, we'll see what comes of the analysis, right? I think that's what we're thinking. Is that right? Can you clarify, City Manager?
Tonight, we would like direction as to whether you will proceed with the 83% that was recommended as part of Alternative 2, or whether you will choose a lower number.
Okay, and I think your suggestion of the bridge was based on in the inflation rate as a bridge. If we chose to go with the option of allowing more time for more in-depth analysis on your part and possibly 2 other staff members to join you. Is
Yes.
that correct?
So
Okay.
it's strictly a bridge to give us time to a further analysis that we can be proud of and we can stand behind.
Yeah.
And that recommendation, probably in the fall, will be for a rate structure for the next 5 years. Right now, we're just asking for a bridge to get us there.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, so I'm gonna check in with you on a couple of things. Thank you so much, by the way, for the suggestion. This is a very clearly very difficult topic whenever we are asking the public to pay more on anything, even though it could very well be justified. It's still very difficult, and we want to make sure that we are doing it very thoughtfully, carefully. So thank you so much for all of your ideas. I wanted to revisit a couple things that you talked about. So the bill redesign. So tell me what would go into that. Would that be part of your analysis, some of the research behind that? Are we going to go with some designs that you have in mind? Yeah. Okay.
So I just shared with you one residential bill and one commercial bill. What you will see is that there is no description of what the rate is about. It only says water base rate or sewer. Where is residential, it says residential, is commercial. I would like to be able to be more transparent with our users, with our utility ratepayers, so that, for example, they can see how much we're paying the county water district for the water that we purchase. The community should be able to see how much we pay Sandy Slope for treatment of that water. So those are 2 expenses that I think it's important for folks to understand. And that's not our expense. That is our partners. Those are their rates. So when they see an increase, for example, let's just say that water gets more expensive and we have to increase the rate, people will know that it's not us. It's not our operation. Sure. It's not that we've hired more people. It's not that we have more money in reserves. It simply reflects the fact that water got more expensive. And so I think that level of detail, not a lot, but enough for people to understand that our rates are not in a vacuum.
Sure.
They are impacted by other services, other districts.
Sure, and so I guess my question is basically like twofold, right? It's not just simply the information, which is what you outlined, City Manager. You just outlined like the kind of information that we think should be conveyed in a bill, but there's also the design of it, right? So those are 2 different things, and clearly design matters because we want it to be easy for people to read, easy for them to understand. That it, we don't want it to be so convoluted, like so much information that it's too much to absorb. People don't. Anyway, so design matters, information matters. So I guess what I'll just throw out there instead of asking a question is, let's consider both of those, right? And from both, just in terms of sharing information, but also in terms of the design of it, like the layout of it and all the other stuff. So anyway, and obviously you can get the gist of my question. Is my concern that we make sure that it is not just information that we're sharing and being transparent, but also that we are being thoughtful about the way the information is presented so that it is easy for people to follow.
Thank you, yes.
Okay, and then I had the same question as Councilmember Morales in terms of the reanalysis and the timeline. So thank you so much. I appreciate early fall. Sounds great. September sounds way better than December. If you can do it sooner, even better. Obviously, the sooner the better, because there is some urgency behind it. So keep us kind of updated on that. So thank you for the answer to that. And then let's see if there was another question. So in terms, I wanted to do a follow-up to the low income. So in terms of the eligibility criteria for low income and seniors, the PG&E Cares program is an easy way, right, to determine eligibility, so we don't get into too much processing and eligibility determination, which can be a nightmare, bureaucratic nightmare. We don't want to do that. However, there is some process change that will have to happen. So I guess, I don't know if I think it's a question, but also just a thought for me is making sure that that's as easy to, an easy process as possible. And then I think if you could tell us, like, if you have any thoughts about how that would be accomplished, because staff time is also important, right? We want to be careful with that as well.
So the way that we rolled out such types of programs is by letting people know through the bills that this is coming, so an increase is coming. If you are part of PG&E's CARES program, then you may qualify for a X% discount with the city of Hollister. And here are the steps. And basically what it is you just bring the verification from PG&E. In fact, we might be able to just ask PG&E for that, so we have that in our roster. What we do not want to do is we do not want to see people's income tax returns, any private information we do not want. We will rely on a much larger partner with a lot more money than us to have done the vetting, and so that we can just rely on their process.
Okay, and again, I think we still need to be super specific about it. Because when you ask people to bring something, that we can like literally have a line out the door of people just bringing it, or it could just be like you attach it to your bill, or it could be you upload it somewhere, or it could be some other way to do that. And then also, does that count for 6 months? Does that count for a year? Do you have to prove it every time you have a bill? So let's just be really thoughtful about that, so that it's also easy for people to understand, and so that people don't feel like there's going to be a time where then they miss some eligibility because of misunderstanding about the determination. So let's think about that as well as we move forward. Okay, I'm going to stop there. Let me check. I'm going to go into public comment. City Clerk, do we have any comments on this section of our agenda?
So I think there does need to be a determination before we open public comment of whether or not the City Council wants to reopen the public hearing of the 17th or only take public comments. January 20th. So that's the City Council did close the public hearing on January 20th. So you would need to determine whether or not you wanted to reopen it first. Just a reminder.
I don't know if I need to do that or not. I think most importantly, I just want to make sure that the public has an opportunity to chime in. So
Right.
whether it's through a public hearing or is it through public comment, I think either way is fine.
Okay.
I guess I just need to know what should we do.
So I'll just remind City Council, so for the Prop 218 public hearing on January 20th, the protest process that went forward, there would have to be 3,644 valid protests received, and we only received 281. So I just want to repeat that from the public
Sure.
hearing of January 20th. If you just want to open public comment, I can go ahead and do that. I just wanted to clarify, since that was a potential action on the agenda item.
Mayor Stevens.
Go ahead,
can I
council member.
clarify a question? Thank you. Just so we're clear about what you're saying, City Clerk, we could potentially open public hearing now as a continuance from the last meeting, and we could set a rate now, or we could just take public comment and not do that. Are those the two options you're proposing?
So I think it's if you want to reopen that public hearing process, which had previously been closed, we have printed protest forms if we wanted to open that public hearing. We have those prepared. I do have 2 public comments that were submitted for tonight. So you've already followed the Prop 218 process and it's full for that January 20th meeting. So I just wanted to clarify since it's a proposed action on the agenda. That's all.
Okay, so we have our city attorney. I'm going to check in with you, Jennifer. And I thought I heard our city manager say that as long as it was less than what we had voted on before, that we were okay. But let's check with Jennifer, our city attorney.
Yeah, so the difference between either opening public comment or opening the public hearing is that if you reopen the public hearing, citizens can submit protests like they did previous to the previous public hearing. If you open just public comment, they can of course comment to you, but they wouldn't be allowed to submit an official protest. So that would be the difference between choosing one or the other.
Mayor
And
Stevens, can I ask a follow-up question?
go ahead, Councilmember.
And then what does that timeline look like, Ms. Thompson? Is it going to happen tonight? Is it going to happen before next city council meeting?
The public hearing is open as long as it's open. So, and you don't vote on if you do open a public hearing and you do want to vote to raise rates or change rates, you have to wait till the public hearing's closed. So you could open the public hearing, hear everyone who's submitted a comment slip, and then close the public hearing and then make your decision. You could conceivably open the public hearing, allow it to be open until the next city council meeting or sometime in the future, and allow protests to be submitted during that period of time, and then close the public hearing at the next meeting. It's really up to the city council. And I think that's the question that City Clerk Woodworth is asking.
Mayor Stevens,
Go ahead.
thank you so much. So after hearing that explanation, I'm comfortable. Of course, I want to hear from my colleagues, opening the public hearing, raising it to 30%, but having City Manager Cortez do everything that she said she was going to do as far as the bridge. And then as far as what you had said, Mayor Stevens, I think it's really important to address that comment. I don't think we should go out and get a list from PG&E. City Manager Cortez, I think we should just put inserts in there, put the onus on the resident so that they can then provide us a copy or something like the mayor had said that would be accessible to them, right? So I'm fairly confident opening the closing hearing tonight, if my colleagues agree, raising it to 30% as a bridge up until the fall, and then having all of those other issues that were spoken about by the city manager Cortez come back in the fall, and then closing public hearing tonight, if that's allowed, city attorney.
So, okay, thank you for that, because I was going to suggest something very similar to that. So let me just check with our city attorney. Does that, the way that Councilmember Resendez described the process would that work legally?
I want to repeat it back just to make sure I understood. So you would open the public hearing tonight, hear whoever wants to speak, close the public hearing, make your decision related to the bridge rate, and then sometime later, when City Manager Cortez is ready, she'll bring back an additional potential rate increase, and do a new 218 notice for that second increase.
Yeah, I
Is
mean,
that
and yes,
Okay.
and
Yes,
then I think that we
would
would know then whether that was necessary based on the conclusions from her analysis, right? We would know more after she did the analysis.
Yeah.
Right,
So
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go ahead then and do that. I'm gonna open the public hearing. We will come back if you guys are okay with that, and then I'll come back to everybody for last thoughts. Okay, so I'm
So
opening-
just to clarify
Okay.
with City Attorney Thompson, we will need a vote and a motion vote to reopen that public hearing. You can't just do it since it
is
wasn't.
that what we need to do?
Well, it was agendized as a public hearing. So
It was an option too. So
Okay.
the option was to
Just-
reopen it as council next steps.
okay, yes, that's correct. I'm just looking at the agenda. Yes. So
Okay, well, let's go ahead then. Let's just do that. Look, can I get a motion to do that then?
I'll move to open the public hearing as desired for the Prop 218 hearing of January 2026.
Thank you. Second,
And
please.
I would also move that we adopt a resolution approving a water rate adjustment of 30%.
Can we do those two things together, or should we do two separate
I would
motions?
recommend doing them
I
separately.
think we do two separate motions. Okay, so can you
Very well, then I'll
restate that?
withdraw my
Okay.
second motion and just stay with the first one to reopen the
Okay,
public
can
hearing.
I get a second just on opening the public? Okay, and let's do roll call vote, please.
Okay, Councilmember Pache,
Aye.
Councilmember Resendez,
Aye.
Councilmember Morales, and Vice Mayor Deanda,
Yes.
and Mayor Stevens.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm
Okay,
gonna.
with all that, sorry.
Okay, thank you. We have to
Derailing us.
follow process. Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, so 7:21, I'm opening public hearing on the water rates increase.
And we do have two speakers.
Okay.
The first is Stephanie Castro, to be followed by Neil.
Thank you, Council, for hearing me speak on this matter. Some of what I'm going to say has to do with the last meeting where they gave recommendations and had the whole presentation. So hearing this new information, I'm a lot happier with a 30% increase. But I would like you to also consider that our drinking water is now contaminated with hexavalent chromium, I believe it's called. I don't know if you knew that, but we just received a letter in the mail that our drinking water is contaminated with this. It says there is a pilot treatment program that is being done with Sunny Slope County Water District. I'm not sure what pilot program means, but that doesn't sound too accommodating. So I just want you to also take that into consideration when you're going to raise our rates, considering that our drinking water is contaminated. Also, the sewage treatment plant is not operating properly and causing a tremendous smell in the area. I think that needs to be addressed as well before our rates are raised. Regarding the last meeting, there was an analysis presented and they proposed rates to be more competitive with Morgan Hill and Gilroy. However, I believe that that is a lopsided argument. Morgan Hill has a affluent area, is more affluent and has a business-friendly city, and they can provide clean drinking water to their residents. Gilroy is another business-friendly city that can provide for its residents with clean drinking water because they have the funds to do so through flourishing business revenue and taxes. Another reason is we shouldn't be penalized for conserving water. If we're conserving water, that's a good thing, and we shouldn't be penalized for it because we're not using more water. Therefore, you need to raise our rates. Many residents have put in turf as opposed to grass and drought-tolerant plants. I'm not sure if this is a new building requirement, but that needs to be taken into consideration when raising our rates. I'm not sure if lawn is even an option anymore, and we're using less water as a result, but it shouldn't be held against us. The city water is an older community with older houses and an older generation of residents who may be on a fixed income. I'm happy that you'll be considering giving them a discount, as well as low-income people giving them a discount. That makes me thankful, and I'm happy to hear that, but I don't think we should have comparable rates that of Sunny Slope Water or San Bernardino County Water District. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Castro.
Our
Next-
our next speaker is Neil.
Someone is getting out of the water business in a year. I'm extremely thankful about that. I used to set, or I still do set water rates, and I was wondering if you guys have considered using tiered rates. I know there's conflicting lawsuits in the state right now, and people are having different problems in implementing tiered rates. We used to do it. We got rid of it because everybody sort of lowered their rates, but we had one resident who was using about 10 times as much water, And so we charged him a lot until he changed. The other thing that I would suggest, since we're integrating with Sunny Slope, which is sort of immaterial, but you might ask them for comparable bills. Your bills are lower than their bills for comparable water. If you look at what people use on a monthly basis for a family of 3 to 4, it's about 5,000 gallons, and that's just for internal water, because all of us have blue valve. And so we used to use chilled water for a different reason, but you guys might consider it because what the last speaker was saying, if people are watering and have huge lawns, they should pay more above drinking and showering and clothes or whatever. I guess I won't comment on I'll just talk with you separately about the chromium. But you guys should ask, what is the dilution technique that they're using? A lot of the places around here have that contaminant in it, and Sunny Slope and or any water company aggressively would want to get rid of that well, but the state requires that all water companies have redundant water systems that are backed up by well versus what comes in from surface water or whatever, like blue valve that gets merged, at the end of Sunny Slope. So the state mandates that that all of us water providers have a backup well, so that we can, if the water gets cut off from the feds for whatever reason, we can supply water uninterrupted. So we kind of have a state mandate that sort of causes the problem, because we need wells, and places where people drill wells are good and some are bad. And all along that corridor on 25 is bad. All the way down to Pinnacles is bad because of the decomposed granite.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you, Neil. Other speakers?
Those are all the speakers for this item.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for public comment. I'm going to then close the public hearing. So we're closing the public hearing. Okay, so I'm going to bring it back. I just want to make a really, really clear statement. We had a special meeting last Monday to talk about some of the issues that we were having with our sewer, as well as to talk about the notice that went out about the chromium 6. And I just want to be very, 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 very clear. Our water is not contaminated. It is very, very safe. We did note the chromium 6 levels that were at a rate higher than those high enough that the state required us to notify all of our water customers. However, those two levels were noted in two locations, as our last public speaker just mentioned, that it was around wells. It was 2 wells. So I just want to be very, very clear to all of our residents that our water is not contaminated, that there is a certain level of chromium 6 that is, I don't know if the right word is allowable, but that is still considered safe and healthy. And we had a special city council meeting last Monday, specifically for the purposes of getting all of the very detailed information out about that issue. I would encourage anybody who has any questions about that to go back in our archives and look at that, but also contact any of our staff, our city manager and our public works staff about any questions that you have, especially on the notice that you received. But our water is safe. It is not contaminated. I just wanted to be very, very clear about that. Okay, so let me check in with my council members. Any questions or last minute comments before we go to giving staff direction, as well as any other motions? Councilmember Boucher, last
do wanna
minute
make it-
thoughts.
Yeah, I just have a couple of things to say. It is a time for us to make some changes to our rates. It's been a long time. It's a perfect time to do it now. It sounds like we're moving with like a 30% modification just to do the bridge, just for some clarity. A quick question about the bill. At last meeting, Council Member Morales brought up a great point, and it's been a part of confusion with a lot of our ratepayers. The sewer being kind of lumped in with the water makes for quite a bit of confusion, and it makes the bill appear rather high because of just the fact that it's lumped in there. And on our example bill, it's way more, it's about half, if not more than half of the bill. Is there something that we can do if we're going to do like an analysis on the bill itself and increased clarity as to what they're paying for, whether it's the San Bernardino County Water District or Sunny Slope Water District, if we're going to get increased clarity on that front, like as to where we're getting the water, what we're paying for water treatment on their bill, is there something we can do to make it a little bit more clear that the sewer is a separate part of the bill?
Certainly, I think that this is an opportunity for us to analyze and be critical of this information on how to best convey it to people. You know, some of it is formatting. Maybe we use different colors for the utility. Maybe we show more graphs. We should do a bilingual bill. And so there are things that we'll have to explore to see how to best reassure people that they're not just giving us a blank check, that we are very confident on the numbers that we use, and that we try to be as transparent as possible in how we convey that information.
Excellent. And to Mr. Neal's point, there is a difference between the groundwater that's stored in wells and then surface water, and there is a mixture process that goes on. So our water is totally safe to drink. We were being proactive as to be more communicative with ratepayers and people who are drinking and using the water. So a little more clarification on that. The rates definitely have to go up. It has been way too long. So I know 83%, that did sound way too high. We're going to bring it down and get ourselves a little bit of time to reassess this and take a better look at it. So I just want to make a couple of comments and ask those questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Morales?
Yes, I just want to, Jennifer, if we can note that I believe council received 2 people submitting the statements that they did not want. So I just wanted for the record that it was received. We are acknowledging, and if we can add that to the count.
Yes, and we did it. Those were, I believe, repeats of ones we had, so they were already included as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's all.
Okay. Councilmember Resendez or Vice Mayor, any last minute thoughts, questions?
Thank you. And
Go ahead.
again, I just want to remind my colleagues, I spoke about this before. Institutionalized gatekeeping is when we say things like the water is completely safe to drink. The sewer has not leaked into the environment. I just want to caution you, we're not scientists. We don't have the information to make such a strong statement. We need to be careful when we're in the public and we say such things. Look what happened with the last council, right? That backfired on them with the problems that we're having on the sewer. So unless you have a degree in environmental science and you've got proven data to say that the water is safe to drink, we should not take such a strong stance on that. We need to proceed with caution. That's my opinion. I've seen this happen before, and I'm not as confident as my colleagues to make such a strong statement. And we just got to be careful about what we say until it's scientifically backed data for us to be able to say that, and I don't think we're at that point. Aside from that, I'm prepared to make a motion for a 30% increase.
Okay, wait, hold on a
of
second.
all
I want to
expenditures.
check in with Vice Mayor Deanda. Any last minute questions or comments? No. And then before you make your motion, I just want to double check with our city manager, because was that the message that we received at the special hearing? Was it that the water was safe or not?
The water in the city of Hollister is safe.
Okay,
And
so
I will address this in my report as well.
Okay, and that was the only message. So thank you for your cautionary note, Councilmember Morales. We have to be very, very skeptical when it comes to stuff like this. I'm sorry, Councilmember Resendez. And so I appreciate that. And so let's have that healthy level of skepticism. I just want to have us be reminded if that was the message that we actually received last meeting, and that was the message, and that was where my thought was coming from. But thank you so much for your healthy skepticism. It's very important that we do that. Okay, now I will entertain a motion.
I'll move to adopt a 30% increase with the exception for 25% discount for senior citizens and low-income residents of the city of Hollister. Thank you.
And let me just get really, really specific on that. It's really those that qualify for the CARES program, right? So we want to make that the caveat. Okay. CARES through PG&E.
I'm
Okay.
happy to add that to my motion, Mayor
Okay,
Stevens.
thank you. And then can I get a second on that?
A second.
A roll call vote, please.
Can I just clarify, because Councilmember Sendez, when you started to make the motion the first time, you mentioned the bridge rate as well. Is this only the 30% and not including the bridge rate, or is it both, as you mentioned earlier?
In my understanding, the 30% is the bridge rate.
Oh, okay. I thought it was 10.3. Okay, my apologies. Okay,
I think that
30%.
the inflation is included
10.
in the 30%
wanna-
with the caveat that we have the opportunity for low-income people and seniors who are qualifying for the CARES program through
Yeah.
PG&E to be able to get that discounted rate.
Right. I have a
Okay.
25% exception for ratepayers that qualify for the PG&E person. Okay, thank you so much. Okay, and then roll call vote. Councilmember Pache,
Aye.
Councilmember Resendez,
Aye.
Councilmember Morales, Vice Mayor Deanda,
Yes.
and Mayor Stevens.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Okay, so that was a really good discussion. Thank you all for that, and thanks to the public for your patience as we move forward from that. 7.1, Westgate Improvement Project, CDBG, contract number 21-CDBG-NH 20012, grant closure report. Can we get a staff report on this one?
Madam Mayor, council members, this item is an administrative in nature. There are certain things that we have to do to comply with our grant, in this case, the Community Development Block Grant, and so we have staff who will give you that report.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is exactly it. This is a project that the city applied and received a CDBG grant for. So that supplements part of the funding for this project. I just wanted to give a quick little overview. This is the roundabout that's currently under construction. It's the West Gateway Roundabout, which is at the intersection of Graff and Bridge Road. I think you guys have probably driven by it on our way out of town. So we have somebody, we actually have our representatives from Adam Ashby that will be providing the presentation, and this is a necessary step to achieve grant closure. So I'll pass it over to our representative here.
Good evening, Council. I'm Beth Dodd from Adams Ashby Group. Part of the requirement of the grant is that we have to have a public hearing at the end to discuss the benefits of the award. Back in 2021, the city of Hollister applied for $3 million and was awarded to do the improvements at West Gateway. We just completed, well, it's still finishing, but we've completed the funded portion of the project. So now we just have to come back and allow the city to have comment if they have it, and then talk about any ideas that you might have for the future or any questions you might have about community development block grants. We have to mention that the entire city benefited, but it was specifically for 4,653 beneficiaries that were cited in the application, and all funds were expended. So if you have any questions, I'm here to answer.
Okay, questions? Questions? Oh, do you have a question, Councilmember?
I do have a
Fisher?
quick question.
Okay, go ahead.
So at that roundabout, I know all roundabouts are not created equal. They have a different amount of traffic that puts through them, and there's a certain amount of just surface area that is available to put a roundabout in. My question is really just around the apron of that particular roundabout. Are there any modifications that can be made to it, or is it totally done and there's no modifications that can be made to any portion of that West Gateway 4th and Graph?
So we are we've just completed phase 2 of 3. So this last phase is really the final alignment of the roundabout. So there's some median islands that are going to get constructed as part of this alignment.
Mm-hmm.
So the finished product is going to be a lot easier. To answer your question, as part of the 3rd phase, you'll get the drivability portion of it. So that's why we still have a controlled full stop kind of roundabout in place right now.
Okay, so some minor modifications can be made to it?
We are still in the process of making those modifications. So
Oh,
as
okay.
part of phase 3, we will add the median islands that'll kind of adjust the traffic movement through the roundabout.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Morales, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was actually hoping for like more information, data, pictures. Is there any way we can get something maybe sent to us? I think so I mean, I looked at the report, right? It talks about, it looks like boilerplate language in the program description, removal of existing traffic signal equipment, installation of roundabout, streetlight. But is there, I mean, other than visiting the site, is there a way we can get pictures of like what is done with the intent? Was there any data? Is there data in terms of improvements, safety, beautification, animals? Like, are we protecting? I mean, like, is there anything else that you can share with us?
Yeah, so this project encompasses all of that. So this is to improve pedestrian, bicycle, and vehicular flow of traffic. One thing that we are going to do is at the conclusion of this project, we're going to have a project roundup, and at that moment we will come to you guys and present on the actual project. So this specific visit to council is just for the purpose of the grant closure. So as far as diving into the project and giving you the full scope of the project, I'd be glad to answer questions as they stand right now. But once we have the full picture and the fully constructed roundabout, we will bring it back to council for a presentation.
If I could add, Councilwoman, Madam Mayor, members of the council, I think that, well, we weren't here when the proposal was submitted for CDBG, but clearly you could look at it as a transportation project, but it's not. It really is a beautification process. I mean, this is a wonderful new asset that we have in a part of town that also calls for additional measures. There's a couple businesses around this roundabout that we will have to have some conversations with code enforcement because now that this is improved, we want to make sure that there's a domino effect. Similarly, that when in a court, one person paints their house, next thing you know, somebody else paints, then the next person gardens, and so on. So we want this to be the beginning of a story, not the end. And yes, indeed, when we are done with phase 3, I mean, frankly, this will be a wonderful photo opportunity. I don't think that the city does enough to promote the good work that we do, and in this case, this is one of those projects. It is comprehensive.
So I guess maybe just recommendation, if you're open to it, I think when you have staff reports, if there isn't the presentation attached, and sometimes it isn't, and we don't know whether we're going to see something or not, maybe if you can add the ledge files or staff reports that were previously associated with what you're going to present, because then we can review the application. We can look to see what was recommended, what is being proposed, what is actually being done, is the project on task? If you're saying we can make recommendations, how do we do that when we don't have the information, again, other than visiting, but without pictures, without the story, without some context to, the proposal, the status, and the outcome, and any type of data? I think that's really nice, city manager, that there's some issues right around that, so that's helpful. But again, how do we provide, so I think I'm looking at is, we're not here to check a box. I'm not here to check a box, right? We're here to provide meaningful input to a project that's $3 million that should benefit the city of Hollister. I think absent that, it's really hard to kind of provide anything other than, we're checking a box. And to me, that does not feel right. And I would like to see improvements moving forward.
Okay, thank you for that. I don't see Councilmember Resendez or Mayor Deanda on the screen right now, but let me just check in if they have any questions on this one.
Thank you. I do, Mayor.
Okay, go ahead, Councilmember Resendez.
Okay. So in terms of, first off, thank you, Public Works Director. In terms of pedestrian safety on Graph and crossing, I think it's called San Juan Hollister Road, but we call it 4th Street. Is there going to be like just a crosswalk, or is there going to be lights there? What, it's kind of hard to tell from the slide there, like what exactly does that look like, logistically speaking, for residents to get across the streets safely?
So there is improved pedestrian ADA ramps. So design path that travels through there. So there will be crosswalks. They as part of the third phase, there is lighting that is going to be installed at this roundabout. So the visibility is going to greatly increase. But there is pedestrian, and I think I don't know if we can put that slide back with the layout on it, and you can. So you see the two designated pedestrian crossings there on the, I guess it would be the east side and the north side of the roundabout. So that's to promote pedestrian traffic.
Right. So you said there's going to be lighting. Are you talking about street lights, or are we talking about flashing lights to notify cars that there's somebody crossing there, or both?
I'd have to. The engineer, the engineer that's managing this project is not here right now, so I'm stepping in. I don't know. I can't confirm the rapid flashing beacons. I do know that there's improved street lighting, so there is 3 street lights that are going to go and be installed at this location.
Thank you, and I appreciate that. It's always been a really dark area, but I am concerned about us not having flashing yellow lights. So I would just suggest, if my colleagues would entertain, for us to see if we can implement that in the last phase. If it's not already included, I don't remember, then if we can possibly bring back a budget request or something to ensure that we have extra added measures there for pedestrian safety. I'm not real comfortable with just having the streetlights and not having actual flashing lights to slow cars down and notify them that pedestrians are crossing. It's just in particular on the 4th Street, San Juan Road.
We can look into that.
So could I ask Councilmember?
Hold on a second. Okay, do you have anything else, Councilmember Resendez?
That's all. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Vice Mayor Deanda, any questions you have? Okay, go ahead, Councilmember Pichet.
My question's for Councilmember Resendez. Are you talking about flashing lights on a sign when they press a button and it alerts motorists, or are you talking about them in the road? Because there are two different times, like when on 4th Street by the courthouse, when you press a button, it flashes inside the road, and then on Ladd Lane, it flashes on a sign. Are you talking about one or the other or both?
Honestly, I'd prefer both.
Me too.
I just think the more, the better, to be honest with you. I didn't realize that. Thanks for pointing that out.
Yeah,
You're welcome.
and maybe that's the question for Public Works Director.
Yeah, maybe you could bring that back if
Right. I'd have to do a check-in with our engineer. And there's certain requirements on certain traffic, the speed limits and approaches into this, that sometimes adding these rapid flashing beacons create more of a hazardous, unsafe, or a false sense of security for pedestrians, right? And so maybe the visibility is not there. They hit the button for the flashing beacon, and the vehicle cannot fully view that placement of it. Maybe the speeds are too fast through the area. In some cases, they create the opposite. So that's something we'll definitely look into, though.
Okay, thank you for that. Okay, I have no questions, so I'm going to check if we have any public speakers on this item.
There are no public speakers for this.
Okay, okay, so on this item, we're just receiving the information, right? There is nothing for us to decide or anything, but obviously there are some concerns related to some of the information conveyed to the council, as well as some safety concerns for pedestrians. So maybe just can take that into consideration as you move forward, right? I mean, I think that's where we're at, right? And let me check with our city manager. And we don't have anything else to do on this item, right?
That is correct.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Hernandez. Thank you, Ms. Dawn, I believe. Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on then to our next item, 7.2, discussion on whether to bring back an ordinance amending section 02.04.050. It's basically around about meetings. These meetings are date and our time and place of these meetings. So let me check with our city manager. Staff report, please.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, members of the public, you had previously entertained whether or not to change your regular meetings from the first and third Monday of the month to the second and fourth Monday of the month. You had instructed staff to report on any barriers, any issues or conflicts if we were to change those times. The one conflict that we have identified is with our city attorney. So her firm would not be able to provide an attorney on the second and fourth Mondays of the month due to commitments with other cities. Obviously, they provide the same services they provide for us as far as attending council meetings. So as far as barriers, that would be the main barrier for changing the meetings from the first and third to the second and fourth. Other than that, management team, we discussed it. We are here to serve the council, so we have no objections, no problems with that. However, missing our legal counsel is significant.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the council? Council member, okay. So I'm going to go to a public comment. Do we have any speakers on this one?
No speakers for this item.
Okay, so I'm bringing it back. Okay, so clearly that information about our legal representation is a big barrier. We oftentimes need them to be available to us. So I think that is a big barrier. So I'm not sure whether that is a deal breaker. I think for me, it probably is. I don't know if there's any other way around it. We would need to have some, and I'm going to check in with Councilmember Morales, what your thoughts are, having heard that piece of information.
No, I heard it. I know that we need legal counsel. I think we just need to also, at some point, talk about our legal services in general as not only a budgetary item, but in terms of a services item. So
Sure.
I'm still going to request the council to consider it, because it is important
Okay.
for me.
Okay, sure. Okay, great. Yeah, okay, so let me check in with our two members on Zoom. Any questions or comments on this one? Okay. So did I already ask for public? Okay, so I'm going to then just, I don't know, do we ask for a motion on this one? What do we do on this one, city manager? Let me check.
Yes, indeed, if you want to make the motion about changing the times,
Okay,
you can.
okay.
There'll be a
It will
first, there'll be a
entertain
second,
motion.
and then
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Mayor
So
Stevens-
I will
Mayor
entertain a
Stevens.
motion on this one.
Mayor Stevens.
Go
can I
ahead,
just get
Councilmember
clarity
Moore.
from legal counsel? It's a discussion item. I don't believe it needs a motion. I think the mayor can simply move on if she felt like.
Yeah, I think it, but I do
Can I hear
think
from
that,
legal really quick, Mayor? That's okay. It's a
Well,
discussion.
staff needs some direction one way or the other,
okay.
and doing that by a motion is the cleanest.
Yeah, and I agree. And then, so let's just do that. Let's entertain a motion, and then we know how to proceed. So I'll entertain a motion.
I move to keep the meetings at Mondays, 1st and 3rd at 6:30 PM. And keep an eye on if there's a more equitable time for us all. If that becomes discovered in the future, we keep an eye on it.
I don't think we need a motion if we're going to keep the meetings as is. Do we need a motion to keep them? We don't need to keep it. Okay, so what we need a motion on is if we make a change. Okay, so I'm going to, do you want to make a motion? Okay, go ahead.
I make a motion to consider bringing back an ordinance to amend the meeting for municipal code regarding the time and place of the city council meeting.
Okay, can I get a second on that? Okay, I'm not hearing a second, so I think that that the motion will just dies there. So we're gonna leave it as is for now, and then we're just gonna move forward. Okay, so we're gonna move on then to the next item, which is the committee assignments. So this is a time for council members to make any, give any updates or reports on any ad hocs, standing committees, or any other reports. So let me check in with council members. Let me check in with Councilmember Pache. Anything to report?
Santa Cruz, Monterey, and San Benito counties, the Association of Monterey Bay Area Governments was not held last week, but I do want to, we didn't have quorum. So I just want to remind people that draft 2050 transportation program, the draft EIR, is available for public review. So take a look at that. If you have people who take public transportation, you might want to go through the San Benito County portion of it. You might want to go through the Santa Cruz County portion of it, because it will definitely affect you. And if you have people who do use public transportation, you might want to take a look at that, because it has to do with how people get around when it comes to public transportation.
Okay, thank you for that. Councilmember Morales, anything to report?
Just a friendly reminder about the senior council. I don't know if we assigned somebody to it.
Don't have anybody yet that can sit in at the time of the date and time of the meetings. And so at this stage, we're kind of, we kind of just are, yeah, we're in a conundrum right now because we don't have anybody that's available to participate in the meetings when they meet.
Okay. And then I have no reports for integrated waste management or 3CE yet. We'll be meeting soon.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Resendez, any committee?
I have nothing to report, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, and Councilmember DeAnda?
Nothing to report.
Okay. Okay, and I think the only thing that I have to report is on fire, and I believe both Councilmember Resendez and I were at the Fire Advisory Committee meeting, and we changed our meeting times to 4 o'clock. which makes it a little easier for people to be able to participate. That was the big thing. And then we spoke a bit about the feasibility report around the district. And we talked a lot about some of the process involved in that. It's very complicated. LAFCO is involved. There's a lot of data that needs to be analyzed. There's a lot of information that needs to be pulled together. We will be getting a more in-depth report later. Councilmember Resendez, remind me, I think we said April was when we will be getting a next report I can't remember if it was March or April.
Consultant said, I believe it was April, Mayor Stevens.
Yeah, okay. And so we'll have more information on that later, but basically it's more about the process moving forward as we are beginning to look into the possibility of creating a fire district. That's what the feasibility report, the feasibility analysis is all about. So we will have continuing information to convey to the public as we get more information. And then the other thing I just want to take advantage of this time is to just talk about, just quickly thank our representatives from our police departments. I saw Chief Reynoso in the back. So thank you to your staff and to our fire department staff who participated with me at a middle school career fair at Hollister Prep School about a week and a half ago. It was so fun. And so lots of kudos to Charles Wald and his staff for providing the little goodies that we were able to give out to the kiddos that participated there. It's just an opportunity to begin to, or at a very early age, encourage this idea of public service as not only just a career path, but also as just in general, like just being service minded. So it was a very important day, and it was really fun to have this to share the stage with the staff that were there. So thank you to our police representatives, our fire representatives, and for just the school for hosting that. And for me, it was really fun just to hang out with the kids. They were super fun. And then that's it for my report. And so I'm going to move on then to our city manager report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, council members, members of the public. Good evening. Let me start with the housing element update. On Friday, February 13th, the California Department of Housing and Community Development formally notified the city that our 6th cycle housing element has been approved. Let me repeat that. Our housing element has been approved. This is a huge milestone. So I think Friday the 13th has a new meaning. It's a good thing. Our next step is to complete the rezone identified in the housing element to achieve final substantial compliance. Mr. Power and I started our conversations today about the zoning map, and we will continue so that we can properly give you that information as it's available. As far as the general plan update, we are moving forward as expected. CAL FIRE is doing the safety review, and it's already been scheduled. We expect to engage the planning board and the council in late March, early April, so in about a month. We will start coming to you. And hopefully we can then finish it up and submit. Any questions on that before I continue?
No.
Okay. As far as the Community Development Department redesign, 2 weeks ago, we had a number of members of the public that came and spoke very directly and clearly, and so we listened. And I wanted to let you know that we have a number of milestones that we have been able to accomplish in the planning and development services. Just to give you a sense, we have added, in 2 weeks, we have added 2 permit center techs. We have an in-house plan review who provides now question and answer opportunities to anybody that drops in. We have afternoon frequently asked questions sessions with inspectors. We have expanded appointment availability to avoid the problem we heard that people were taking too much time to get those appointments. We are waiting for 4 more additions to the team to make sure that we have the people capacity so that we can address not only the backlog but also the current the current load that we have with customers. As far as customer service, we have one person now who triages all emails and phone calls. Let me emphasize, now we have one person responsible for making sure that they're on top of communications. We heard that that was a problem. We are working with finance so that all customer stations can take cash payments, so we avoid sending people to another building to pay, and with that, the inefficiency and, you know, the lack of cohesion by having everything in one place. We have programmed computer stations to allow payments for various types in all of those stations. We have checklists for a number of services so that we can create some consistency and predictability. And as of March 12th, we will have the joint session between the planning and the city council, between the planning board and the city council. So I list some of these accomplishments, and there have been others. For example, we did have an all-hands meeting right here in this conference room where all the directors and relevant staff discussed ways in which we can create a better experience for our customers. So I wanted to share that with you to again demonstrate that it's not me promising things, but it's actually delivering. We have an incredible management team, and certainly through the leadership of the CDD director, assistant city manager, and basically he wears all kinds of hats, Mr. Powell, all of this has been accomplished. So we are listening. We are listening, and we're doing something about it. As far as the San Benito High School District matter, we sent our formal response to the district regarding the notice of default and dispute resolution dated January 12th. In our response, we clearly stated that the city of Hollister is not in default of its obligations under the 2016 agreement or the 2017 amendment, and that we will continue to discuss this topic until we reach a good path forward. As far as water quality, enough said, the water is saved. But I will share with you an experience that I had this weekend as I was trying to get coffee in that place that is very crowded by Ace Hardware. I forget the name. So there's a water sale place there. And as we were sitting, talking to friends who have visited, I continued to see people coming and coming and coming. So I had to ask, why are you doing this? And what I was told three times that I asked is because in Hollister, water isn't safe to drink. And I asked, are you in the city of Hollister or are you outside? I was told, no, we are inside. So clearly, and today we heard it again, clearly there's an educational component that is our burden. We are the ones responsible for ensuring that the community knows that water is safe to drink. Now, I understand that there are parts in the county where that is not the case. We need to educate the public so that they know about the quality of water depending on where they live. So I just wanted to share that with you. As far as a police update, the Hollister Police Department successfully executed an out-of-state arrest warrant issued by the state of Pennsylvania or the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And that was through our use of flock safety license plate readers. And we were able to catch a very bad person and send that person back to where he came from. As far as some of the complaints that we hear or the issues that have been on the press, let me talk a little bit about the Little Tree Montessori School. Additional guidance was provided to the owners by Mr. Powell. He clarified that his earlier communication was intended to facilitate completion of outstanding requirements necessary for the issuance of a certificate of occupancy. The communications highlighted common items that can prevent passing final inspection and reminding the applicant of state mandated energy requirements. This situation may reflect a broader challenge, which is that applicants and even their own contractors, architects, engineers may not fully understand the city process. So there is not much we can do once we've outlined what is needed, but there certainly is room for improvement on how we can help some of our applicants navigate what for them is a complicated ocean. So we're figuring that out. We've talked about having a navigator. We've talked about having an advocate. We've talked about having an ombudsperson that can help in special cases. We haven't come, a mediator also. We haven't come to a conclusion, but know that we are doing what we can in this particular issue, but also on how to resolve the broader problem of someone not understanding our processes. As far as KB home disturbances, we have a path forward with residents who have informed us of excessive noise, dust, and other nuisances around the construction site. The city engineer has sent communication, and we are in the process of closely monitoring the site. I talked to one of the individuals who has been more vocal about this problem, and we have a plan. He will notify me when the violations are taking place, and we will put in place whatever consequences need to be put in place. We have had the conversation with the contractor, so they've been told, they've been put on notice. However, I understand that as late as this past Saturday, we had issues. So we will continue to stay on top of that. San Benito Water District. As you know, a letter was sent to all of you indicating that they had concerns about the availability of recycled water. So the response is that the city continues to manage its recycled water facilities in a manner that is consistent with applicable regulatory requirements and long-term operational objectives. As part of this ongoing effort, the city has been implementing planned operational maintenance and system improvements intended to support consistent performance and regulatory compliance. In other words, we get it, we're taking care of it. We are, of course, in conversations with the district to make sure that everybody's on the same page. Amazon Community Partnership. We will be in contact with our liaison with Amazon to make sure that the ongoing partnership that we have for support of various priorities continues to be in place. Mr. Powell is fully aware of those previous conversations, and we will be in contact to make sure that this year is no different than previous years. As far as the 4th of July rally, we have scheduled planning meetings. There's one coming on March 4th at 4 o'clock. I think there was a change. And then they will be monthly after that. We want to make sure that we plan for this event, and very excited about the possibility of making it even bigger than what it's been. We will be collecting some performance measures for this event. So, for example, when we did our visit of the sewer plant, it occurred to us that we can see the levels of treatment on that weekend, and that will give us a pretty good sense of how many people come into town. I mean, sewer is like the best way of measuring, actually, so we will be doing that, yep. Department presentations. We know that a police department presentation regarding records management will be in the agenda coming up. And then I added today that a CDBG Westgate project that we will be bringing back to you more information about the project with pictures or videos, something that where you can actually see the project. And also we will emphasize information on pedestrian safety. So the main part of my report now is, per your request, you wanted a periodic update on our sewer treatment plant, specifically because of the smell. So if you would please indulge me, what I've done for this report is I actually wrote it as an FAQ with the idea of what would a member of the community want to know. They don't want to know the specifics about the filter or the pump or this. They want to know the following. Why does it smell so bad? Here's the answer. The odor issues are the result of operational and structural failures that accumulated over time. For example, excess of debris in the raw sewage caused plugging, resulting in releases to a holding pond designed for short-term only. For example, diapers. If you flush a diaper, it impacts the system. The screening process occurs too late in the treatment sequence, reducing effectiveness. So now the conversations with the operator is, let's bring the screening to the front, not to the back end, and it will be done. The aerators failed and the replacement was delayed. We know what happened. We have a maintenance operational plan and greater oversight over those plans. Communication between the operator and the city was ineffective, and key operational steps in 2025 were missed. One of the questions as a follow-up is, at the end of the day, where does the buck stops? And what I want to say is that it stops with the city manager. At the end of the day, operational issues stop with the city manager's office. End of the story. This is not a policy issue. This is 100% an operational issue. So that's where the buck stops. Moving forward, I and only I will be accountable for the results at the sewer treatment plant. And finally, one of the reasons why this happened was that the city did not monitor the plant or the contractor closely enough. Next question, what type of sewer enters the plant? Is the tomato plant releasing to this treatment plant? The plant treats residential sewer only. Let me repeat that, residential. San Benito Foods do not release to this facility. That release is actually to the facility that is by the animal shelter. That's for industrial. Who operates the plant? Viola operates the plant 24/7. They are a global company operating in 56 countries and also operating in the city of Richmond. They run the Richmond Wastewater Treatment Facility. The reason why I mention that is because I am familiar with that facility. I worked for the city of Richmond and actually happen to live not that far from the facility. So one of the things that I mentioned to the operator when we visited was, I don't remember any smells. What's the problem? So it was nice that we had a point of commonality. So I basically said, whatever they're doing in Richmond, that's what I want here. And so that led to conversations about specific pieces of equipment that we need to add. Next question, can the community tour the treatment plant? In Richmond, Veolia has hosted open houses and actively engages with local leaders and the community to showcase improvements and explain operations. Therefore, we should do the same. Again, if it happens in Richmond, it can happen here. Next question, can the city find a different operator? Yes, the city can procure a new operator if necessary. Any private company that operates or manages a public wastewater treatment plant must register with the California State Water Board Wastewater Operator Certification Program, and we can get someone from that list. We would have to do an RFP, so clearly it's not something that we will do overnight. Is it possible? Yes, is it possible? Why doesn't the city operate the plant? The city does not currently employ individuals with the required licenses to operate the plant. So let me emphasize how technical operations of water and wastewater treatment plants are. You need specific certifications. If you do not have them, then in reality, you should not be operating. In this case, we rely on our partner, Veolia, to have those certifications. We do not. Next question, what steps are being taken? Since February 2nd, the city manager and public works director have visited the plant, met with Veolia leadership, and conducted a full operational review. The strategy for protecting quality of life of the residents near the plant and for ensuring released water quality involves two paths. The first is equipment upgrade. No doubt we need to increase our investment. And today in the consent agenda, we had a few items pertaining to the upgrades. The second is an additional operation oversight. The maintenance corrective plan includes improvements to screening, aeration, debris removal, sludge removal, and monitoring systems. The structural corrections under consideration include annual sludge removal, as we discussed last Monday, requiring an estimated $2 to $4 million investment in equipment. In Richmond, sludge gets removed every year. So I go back. Whatever we're doing in Richmond, we need to do here. Relocating screening to the front end of the treatment. Public education campaigns to prevent damaging materials entering the system. This is key. We have to educate the community about diapers, about rags, about hair, and so on and so forth. These items, fat, that's the other one, grease. These items hurt the system, and it can be easily prevented through actions by the users. Air quality monitoring equipment is something that we would like to do, and that cost is the responsibility of our partner. Creating redundancies in treatment steps, increasing community transparency, i.e. tours, and a strategic partnership with an entity that can be an extension of the city manager's office when it comes to oversight. Next question, who pays for this? The city is holding the operator accountable for costs that were incurred due to their lack of oversight. Currently, the city's sewer fund has resources that will allow us to cover these maintenance expenditures and future investments. Next question, will there be an increase in sewer rates? No. Let me repeat that. Will there be an increase in sewer rates? No. We estimate a short-term investment anywhere between $3 to $6 million to bring the plant to modern standards that are comparable with best practices. The sewer fund has sufficient reserves to fund necessary upgrades and restructurings. The city is holding Veolia financially responsible for costs incurred due to their inactions. What are we doing to keep people accountable? The council has required bi-weekly city manager reports on progress towards plan upgrades and operational restructuring. We will continue providing transparent updates until the matter is fully resolved. The city manager will add a utility monitor to the utilities operation. This person will report to the city manager, and until further notice, this person will scrutinize water and sewer utility operations regardless who the operators are. So with that said, do you have any questions about our ongoing sewer saga?
Okay. Or anything else, I'm
Or anything
assuming,
else.
from your report. Okay, so any questions from anybody? Any questions? Any questions? Okay, I'm not seeing anything. First of all,
Mayor Stevens,
oh, you do have a question, Councilmember Resendez?
yes,
Okay, go ahead.
thank you. So you talked about the aerators, City Manager Cortez, and I know that they will help eventually, but they're going to prolong the smell as well. So what exactly is happening with the aerators, and how long will the smell last?
Councilman, so all the steps that we're taking right now to improve the air quality, unfortunately, it's not going to happen overnight. So the timeline that we're looking at is getting as many equipment items that are needed to deal with the odor problem, but also with why we got into the situation. It is safe to say that we will experience bad odor for probably a few more months.
Will the odor level, I guess I don't know if that's the right way to say that, but the intensity of the smell decrease? However, I think that at our last meeting, our special meeting that we had a week ago, we did say that the first 30 days we'd still be experiencing this, and then after that, it should diminish and significantly. So do we still think that will happen?
We should see gradual improvement, Madam Mayor. I mean, again, we're making an investment. We are getting equipment. We have to wait in some cases to get equipment. But for example, I think it was the aerators that we actually had gotten them from the Richmond plant. Mm-hmm. So the one thing with the meeting that we had with Veolia, it was reassuring that they were moving heaven and earth to try to get the equipment that was necessary, even if they had to borrow from another plant. So from that perspective, they're moving fast. But the smell, again, it's not going to go away from one day to another. We should see a gradual improvement.
Okay.
One more. If I
Go ahead,
can, Mayor.
Councilmember.
Thank you. the council was pretty adamant about getting a third-party, non-biased environmental study done. Where are we at with that? As far as testing the air, the soil, the water, just to ensure that, again, that this is not harmful to the public, or if it is, I know we talked about that. I'm wondering where we're at with that.
Yes, so council member, the same way that we're bringing a utility subject matter expert to be in the city manager's office, we are also procuring a consulting firm that can help us with that. Again, we do not have the expertise, nor frankly, in this case, we are the operators. When it comes to water, we are the operators. When it comes to sewer, Veolia is the operator. So we want to bring a non-biased entity that will provide that reassurance. My goal today, and I heard obviously your comment earlier, is that you will feel comfortable saying that indeed our water is safe, that our sewer operation is not impacting our water. That would be the goal. So working on that as well. Thank you for the reminder.
Okay. Okay, and thank you for the very, go ahead, Council. Vice Mayor, did you have a question? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I do.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. So, Anna, is there any plans to review the contract that we have with Viola, just to go over any verbiage, just so we ensure that this does not happen again? Because I believe the contract was August 2010. So
Yes, indeed. The Public Works Director and his staff have been looking at the specific language in the contract. And again, this is part of us holding them accountable for some of those costs. I can tell you that in one situation, an invoice was submitted to us, and our Public Works Director basically rejected it, making the point that per the contract, this was not a cost that we would be covering. So yes, ma'am, we are doing that.
And do you have a timeline for that review? And is it like a frequency for the just in general, the review of that contract?
Oh, it's been done. It's every time that we have an issue now, we have to go back. So returning to the dynamic that occurred here. Yes, somebody should have been on top of the contract just to make sure that the activities listed in the scope of work were taking place. Fine. Now we are on the oops, something happened phase. And so now we have to go back to make sure that as remedies are put in place, that the right entity is paying for them.
Okay, and Vice Mayor Deonda, anything else to add on that? Are you good with that?
yeah, nothing else to add. Thank you.
Okay, and here's my only comment, City Manager, is I appreciate that, and I would like for us to move, like I think at a previous meeting, I think it was Councilmember Pache talked about being more proactive, less reactive. So instead of like we're reacting to this, therefore we're reviewing the contract. So I'm thinking more in terms of automatic reviews, like that sort of thing. I think that is the way to be proactive on something like this, especially because we know that it is a hot topic, right? And so maybe you could just think about that, and then maybe in your next report, just talk about what we might accomplish that with this contract.
Will do, ma'am.
Okay. So thank you for that. First of all, I appreciate the very comprehensive city manager report. I do love that this practice of being more informative during that time. So thank you so much for that. I do want to go back to the things related to our planning and building department. Appreciate the really quick little fixes that you and Mr. Powell were able to make. Thank you both for that, as Assistant City Manager and City Manager. These were the kinds of like really practical, low-hanging fruit kinds of changes that we were hoping to be able to demonstrate to the public. We want to make sure that we kind of stay on that vein of like that kind of remedies, right? Those quick wins that we can make for the public, especially as we are trying to regain some good faith in their eyes. So let's just keep going on that vein. I think the March 12th joint public meeting with the Planning Commission and the City Council is going to be another place for us to be able to, again, show that we're trying to be really transparent, that we are trying to make, there's a good faith effort to make some improvements in that area. So I'd like to make sure that we're like recruiting people to attend, that we're getting the word out for that meeting, that we're using that time and that valuable joint meeting, which doesn't often happen, that we're using that in the most beneficial way, so that we're being really thoughtful about how to move forward with that. So, publicity, planning, reaching out to people, it's going to be really key. So let's just make sure that we're doing all of those things so that we make that meeting super, super successful. I think what I'm hoping is that this is not a time for us to justify what we're doing. It's a time for us to be open to the feedback, whether it is in a positive vein or negative vein from the public, and that we are allowing ourselves that opportunity to be open. So let's just use that time for that, because I think that is how we build public trust. And so let's just use that. And so obviously I want to hear a little more about that before at our next city council meeting, because that'll be before the March 12th date. And I want to make sure that we are letting the public know, being as proactive as we can to let them know about that meeting, so we get some really good attendance and participation. Okay, so that's my only thought. Okay, last minute, checking with council members on any questions for our city manager and her very comprehensive and very, very appreciated report. Any last minute things?
Just great work so far. Great city manager report. Great job, Mr. Powell and Ms. Cortez. Keep it up.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else, council?
No, I just want to say thank you, breath of fresh air, and I think our community is really tired of hearing a lot of things. They just want to see things being done. At the end of the day, it's about action, and so I truly appreciate and really want to thank you and all the staff for putting things in motion in such a short period of time. It really demonstrates that we have not only the willingness, but we're listening to our community and really taking action to meet their needs. So I just want to say thank you. Thank you to staff.
Ditto. Okay. Anything else? If not, I'm going to adjourn this session of the city council meeting.